All right, we're on the record, State of Arizona versus Daybell, CR 2021-001704. The prosecuting attorney's present, the defendant's present. We'll continue with the cross. Was there something before we bring the jury in?
Nothing from the state.
All right, we'll bring the jury in.
Ms. Hancock, you said that you had seen on TV that my husband had passed away. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you indicated after that that you saw my sister-in-law, Kay Woodcock, on that show, and you reached out to her. Is that correct?
I didn't indicate that, but that is correct. I reached out to Kay after I saw that Charles had died.
Okay. And did you do that through Facebook or
I did.
social media? Okay. How many times between that first contact and now have you and Kay Woodcock communicated?
I've spoken to her just once. I've texted her here and there regarding, I've texted her here and there about other things. I don't know what I can say.
Okay. How many times have you texted her?
I have no idea.
Like more than 10?
Maybe.
Okay. Have you ever turned over those communications to the state?
No.
Did they ask you for them?
No.
Okay. Did you ever turn over the text conversations you had with my husband to the state?
I was never asked, but I understand that they retrieved them via having them through Charles' phone.
Okay.
I would have had I been asked.
Okay. Did you turn over any other communications that you had with anyone else regarding this case to the state?
I don't believe I've had any other regarding this case to turn over to anybody, so no.
Okay. How many times have you spoken to this prosecutor?
To Ms. Kay?
Yes, to Ms. Kay.
I met with her once in person and one other phone call, and then just text messages about the logistics of being here today.
Okay. How many text messages would you say?
I have no idea.
More than 10?
I know court was running behind, so she had to text me to come at a different time. Probably counting yesterday and today to redo the time, more than 10, yes. Prior than that, probably no.
Okay. Did you have a meeting with her to prepare for this testimony?
I met with her once.
How long was that meeting?
An hour, maybe an hour and a half.
Okay. Was anyone else there?
No.
ever spoken to my brother, Adam?
Yes, but only because I ran into him at my grandson's pickleball tournament the other day.
And how did you know that was him?
Because I've seen him on media via the situation surrounding you.
So you initiated a conversation with him?
I just said hi, and he asked me who my grandson was, and I pointed it out, and that was the end of it.
So you introduced yourself to him? To my brother?
I don't know that I introduced myself, but maybe.
How would he know who you were?
I don't know that he knew who I was. I knew who he was.
So you went up and talked to him?
I did talk with him, yes.
He didn't call you over, so you went up and talked to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you were talking to him, you told him you were who?
I told him that my name was Nancy Jo Hancock.
And did he recognize that name from something?
Can I go back and change how I met your brother? I forgot this until right now. So on a dating app, your brother's picture came up on my dating app. And I sent him a message and said, but he had a different name that he used, not Adam. And so I just sent him a message and said if he was going to use someone else's pictures, he should probably pick someone different than Adam Cox. That's how I met him.
That's how you met my brother, Adam?
Correct.
Do you know what perjury is?
Absolutely.
I object, Your Honor,
That's a question.
argumentative harassment.
Argumentative.
How long was this conversation that you had with my brother at the pickleball tournament?
A couple of minutes, maybe less.
And how many times had you communicated with him before that?
Only that message on that dating app. Besides that,
One message, one time?
I don't remember. I think he messaged me back, and it didn't continue.
So just the one day then? Maybe several messages in one day?
I might have sent him one other message, but it was just one interaction, and there was nothing further.
And you did not schedule a date with him?
I did not.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to Brandon Boudreaux?
Yes.
Okay, when?
He attends the same church that my daughter does, and he happened to be at their house briefly, and I didn't really speak to him. I just knew that that's who he was
And how did you know who he was?
because my daughter told me.
And who did she say he was?
Brandon Boudreaux.
In relation to me?
She knows the story, and I know the story, so she just had to tell me that his name was Brandon Boudreaux.
That he was married to my niece? Is that the information that you had?
I know that he was married to your niece, yes.
Okay. Just the association is all I was asking. And you did speak to him that time?
Well, I don't believe I spoke with him.
Okay. Yeah, but you met him? Or
I don't know that I even met him. I was there. He was there with some other people, and I knew that that's who that was.
So you didn't introduce yourself to him?
I did not.
Okay. Did you speak to any other law enforcement besides Miss K? Not that she's law enforcement, but did you speak to any other law enforcement about this case or be interviewed?
Yes.
Who? Who did you speak with?
Detective Moffat is who interviewed me. I believe That's, I might have left a message for him. I couldn't tell you who with, but the only one that I spoke to was Detective Moffett, Nathan Moffett.
And when was that interview?
In 2020, I believe in April. A long time ago.
Okay. How long was that interview? About?
It was a telephone interview and it lasted 45 minutes, I'd say.
Is that the only law enforcement that you spoke to besides the prosecutor?
Yes.
And how long between that interview with Detective Moffett and your first communications with Ms. K, how much time passed in between there?
With Trina Kay,
Correct.
I met with her just a month ago, 5 weeks ago, and I gave an interview in 2020, so
Is that the first communication you had with Ms. K was 5 weeks ago?
yes.
Okay. Ms. Hancock, were you aware at the time of your date that I did not know that my husband was on dating websites and dating women?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Were you informed by him that I knew of the situation of us being separated?
He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Just to recap, you said that you met my husband Charles, on July 3rd. Is that correct?
Approximately. Give or take a day.
And you went on a date with him on July 10th.
Correct.
So that was what, 7 days later?
Approximately.
So would it be fair to say that you knew my husband for a week?
Approximately.
Okay. And then you had no contact with Charles after that, correct?
Well, he was dead, so clearly I didn't have contact with him.
Okay. And it wasn't until you saw that he had passed away on the news that you reached out to anyone, is that correct?
Correct. I didn't know he was dead.
And that was about 6 months later, is that correct?
I believe it was December, so July to December is 5 months, I believe.
Okay. And then you found Charles' sister, Kay Woodcock, my sister-in-law, yes?
Objection, asked and answered.
I'm just going over the timeline, Your Honor.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
So when is the then you're referring to?
So at the 5 months later that you said in December, after that is when you contacted Kay Woodcock?
To express my condolences for her brother passing away and wanted to let her know that I had had dinner with him that last night and how much he loved JJ and how excited he was to see him the next morning. And just
Thank you, that's enough. I'm just recapping here, and you contacted her through Facebook, is that correct?
And again, asked and answered.
I don't think that was actually asked yet. Overruled. Go ahead.
yes, as I said before, I contacted her through Facebook.
Okay. And then sent a few text messages, is that correct?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
This is recap of everything we've already gone through.
And then you said you met with police on April 22nd, 2020, is that correct?
I didn't say April 22nd. I said I believed it was sometime in April.
Okay,
And I didn't meet with them. It was a telephone interview.
okay. And that was around 1 year after my husband passed away, is that correct?
Well, July to April would be 10 months, so
No more questions, Your Honor.
All right, redirect.
Thank you. You, did you reach out to the police, or did the police reach out to you after you learned Charles was?
I reached out to the police. I was surprised, given that if they had seen his phone, they would see the text communication that we had had, and that we had been at dinner that night before he died.
In terms of speaking with Charles's family, Kay Woodcock, did you know her before this?
No.
Had you heard her name through speaking with Charles?
Yes, from Charles. I knew that he had changed his life insurance to his sister Kay, and he talked quite a bit about Kay and his love for her and the relationship with JJ and how that they had adopted JJ.
So you understood the closeness he had with his sister,
Absolutely.
and you said you reached out to pay your condolences.
I did.
When you learned that Charles was dead, were you shocked?
I was watching the TV and it was talking about a case, and his picture came on the screen, and shocked is an understatement, yes.
In terms of talking with Kay, have you ever tried to talk to other people to learn about or verify if the stuff that Charles told you is accurate?
No.
Is what you are telling us just what he told you?
What I'm telling you is part of what he told me. There's a lot more.
And did you tell the police all of what he told you? That you could remember at that time, I should say.
I believe, no, I thought I would probably be interviewed again, and it was more an ask-answer format. There was, I remember being surprised that I wasn't interviewed again.
Okay. Because Charles had shared so much with you.
Correct.
In terms of the defendant's brother, Adam, did you ever talk with him about the case?
No.
Through media, did you recognize him?
I recognized him because I'd seen him on reports. And I knew that he was going to be testifying in this hearing.
When did you see him? When was this interaction
Like
at this pickleball?
a week and a half ago.
So a week and a half ago, when you see him at a pickleball tournament with your grandkid, you say hi to him?
Basically.
You don't talk at all about the case?
We might have talked about that we were testifying. I don't know. No details for sure.
Okay.
Just a general, and then he saw who my grandson was, and the end.
So nothing about, hey, I'm going to say this, or Charles told me this?
Absolutely not.
When you and I met, did we go through your testimony? Or let me get this right. Did we go through what you told the police?
Yeah.
Did I indicate to you to just tell the truth?
You told me to tell the truth,
Whatever that was.
whatever that was.
You were asked about the fact that you knew Charles for basically a week, right?
Correct.
Did he make an impression on you?
Charles was a large personality. It would be hard not to be impressed by his wit and just gregarious, big personality with his Southern accent.
You were asked a lot on cross about you dating a married man.
Correct.
What was your impression of where this relationship was between Charles and Lori Vallow when you and Charles started talking?
Well, I knew that they had separated and that they had reconciled, and I knew he had filed, and then he had recanted that. But he also had met with an attorney to begin the process again and was very emphatic that he was done with all the craziness.
And was that last time something that you understood to be very recent?
Prior to us meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
When he's talking to you, he's telling you about, you said sort of the whole year of 2019, correct? But this last understanding that you had of him now going back to a divorce lawyer, was that something you understood to be very recent in time to that July 10th when you're meeting?
Correct.
Okay. And did you understand him to have even met with an attorney?
I believe he told me that, yes.
So that was where you were at.
Yes.
And that's what you understood Charles to be at.
Yes, and I will say, after having dinner with him, I did tell him that no one would want to be serious with him until he was further along in accomplishing that divorce that he was in the process of, including myself.
So even though you know he was just barely starting now, did you still want to meet with him again?
Yeah, I wouldn't have entertained a serious relationship, but he was fun, and yeah, I would have met with him again.
All right. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Are there any questions for this witness from the jury? I see at least one question coming down. I think we have our white noise. Our
Jury asked questions?
Yep. ever expressed to you verbally any indications of stress?
Definitely, he was very worried that,
That, I think we'll just keep it with a yes/no answer for this question. Does the defense have follow-up based on that juror question? Does the defendant have follow-up based on that juror
Oh,
question?
no, Your Honor.
All right, state.
No.
All right, you can step down, thank you.
thank you.
State can call its next witness.
I thought he. All right, members of the jury, we're going to take a little